Hello, my name is Grace Ann Jarrett. I go by Saysan on the internet, and this video is about the junior year of the rest of my 20s. So this video is about me being 28 years old in the context of I started this series when I was 26, and now I'm 30, so we're actually a couple years out. A lot has happened since then. But I just want to go over, and now of course this is in retrospect, I want to go over some of the main points that came about during the junior year of my 20s, so age 28. And I wrote down a few points, and I'm not doing this off of script or just barely a few notes that I just wrote after I rewatched the last video in the series, and then I just went through my camera roll. And, excuse me, I'm going to try to go through this with no editing, no stops, none of that whatsoever. I have edited the previous two, and right now I just want to get the video out. I want to continue the series and keep going so that I can get it done. So as far as when I turned 28, when I go back and I look at the pictures and I revisit the memories and all this stuff, so for my 28th birthday, I took a trip to Flagstaff, Arizona with my now ex-boyfriend, and I went up there, and being up there, so I went to school at NAU for 3.5 years, technically. For one semester of that, I studied abroad in Germany, but I lived in Flagstaff for 3 years, and being in Flagstaff was really inspiring for me. Just being in the city made me want to return to school and finish my bachelor's degree. I had gone to NAU for a while at the time where I figured out I wasn't going to, I changed my major 4 times. So I did that. I studied abroad, and then I later transferred to U of A, where I spent almost a year in school. And at that point, it had taken me a long time to even get to a point where it was still going to take me 3 years to graduate at U of A. It would have taken me 2 at NAU. So at that point in my 28th year, I decided that going back to school was something that I really wanted to do. I had been working at a bartending job, which, even looking back at the old video, in that video I was like, oh, I love bartending, but I didn't really love that job. I don't love bartending as much as I did when I started, or did when I wanted to start, and that's been a part of my career journey also. It's always an option, but it's not something that I really want to be doing long term, and that became really clear to me, both in my work and then by visiting Flagstaff. I felt really inspired to go back to school. So from then on, into the fall, I was having a lot of other struggles at my bartending job, as far as socially, as far as hours and dealing with a lot of stuff that was going on there. I don't really want to badmouth them, but I didn't have a good experience, and I needed to find a second job, so I went and I got rehired at Albertsons, where I had worked previously. So at one point I was working 2 jobs as well as bartending gigs, just to try to make my life work. I'm gonna burp again. I might burp throughout this. I'm not editing any of this, so we deal with whatever comes. So in any case, at one point I was working 2 jobs while I was 28, which is the second time in my life that I've had to do that. And in January of 2024, I ended up leaving the bar and deciding to work fully just for the grocery store. That was a good move for me. I was a lot happier after I did that, but at the same time, it didn't really solve all of my problems. That was January. The February of my junior year of the rest of my 20s, which are now past us, that February, I I quit smoking weed for a month. And now I have smoked weed a lot of my life. At one point, I really, really wanted to quit. I had a really hard time because of some of the social circles that I was in, and a lot of other things that were going on. So this was kind of like a trial just to see if I could stop for a while. And I did that for a month. That was helpful and healthy. I since then have quit fully, and I haven't been able to smoke again. If I do, it's really uncomfortable for me. And that's really unfortunate because I used to really enjoy it, and I probably got a lot out of it, and there were things that it made difficult for me. There were good and bad sides to it, and now the one thing that I've said is if I knew that things were going to go the way that they have in my life, I probably would have smoked more while I could. But at the same time, it was a healthy move for me to take a break for a month, and that led to me quitting more long term also. I still can smoke CBD, which is great because I really do miss it, but it doesn't have the same effect on me now as it did in the past. It's not fun for me anymore, which is kind of too bad because there are things I liked about it. There are things I miss. I'm glad that CBD is an option for me, though. If you want to buy some, you can get some at the link in my bio, and we all get a discount. So anyway, that happened. About a month or two after that, I was still working at the grocery store, and I was having this deep disillusionment with life. Regardless of, you could say it was about work, about things that were going on in society, and God, like, if only we knew back then, like, how much worse it would get now. God help us. But in any case, I started making what I've called disillusioned graphics. So I was making these weird ass graphics and posting them on Instagram as like a way to cope with all the emotions and all the stuff that was coming up in society and things I was going through, and just how like dissatisfied I felt with, like work is better but I earn less, and all the things that come up when you struggle in life, and all these things that were coming up in society, and God help us, it's worse now. But in any case, I was making graphics to cope with how I felt about that, and I was going through this time period of just like a lot of emotional distress or disillusionment, difficulty, kind of leading up to through that time period up until it was time to go to EDC Las Vegas, Electric Daisy Carnival, for that year. And that was something I had been really hugely looking forward to up to that point, and I was making content about how excited I was and outfits I was preparing to wear, and all of this stuff that was like, I was really looking forward to EDC, and this was like the culmination point of a bunch of difficult stuff that had happened up to that point in the year, in my life in general. Another thing that I know I wrote down in my notes that I just made before this, this was now May 2024 that I'm talking about in this part of the video. But in 2023 alone, I went to Las Vegas 4 times that year. And that was really cool, really huge for me. That was the first time in my life that actually, no, it's not the first time in my life, because I totally went to Germany and traveled more than all of this. But that was the first time in a while that I'd been able to travel that much. And even though it's close by and I went to the same place a few times that year, it really had a lasting impact on my life. And like the first trip I went with my now ex, we did a lot. We got to stay with his family, so we were there for a handful of days. I want to say 5 or 6 days. And there were still a lot of things that I didn't get to do yet, that I really wanted to do, or that I was excited about. So I went back later in the year. I had 2 solo journeys, and then I had a trip to EDC with my now ex. And they're just, I love the city. There's so many things to do there, and at this point I've gone about once a year since then too. So it had a really huge impact on where I am now as an adult, or my experiences traveling, and it still does, absolutely. So going back to there are a few like directions I could go with this here. One thing that I wrote in my notes as well was that I had a transportation issue that had been ongoing up to that point. That was part of why I'm gonna burp again. Excuse me. That was there's a transportation issue that was ongoing in my life. That was hard. That was part of why I worked at the grocery store, and then working at the grocery store wasn't going to solve the issue necessarily. And now in retrospect, there were different things I could have done that ultimately it worked out better than I expected. But in any case, that was that was a huge thing that was going on this year. And that kind of leads into, if we want to talk about EDC, I ended up going with my now ex. I wanted to go by myself without him, and that didn't work out for a number of things, including transportation issue, working at the grocery store. And I was trying to like get away, and going to festivals kept kind of making us have to stick together for that. And a lot of stuff came up between me and him on the festival trip. A lot of stuff came up, at least for me, close to my 29th birthday. So there was a lot of there's a lot to say. I don't want to badmouth him either, but at the same time, a lot of stuff was coming up for me about the relationship in the spring and in the summer as I continued on. But then I want to go back because we went to EDC. That was like a really huge turning point, or a point of change, or just something that I was really looking forward to among a lot of like ups and downs that had been going on in my life. And then immediately after we returned from EDC, I had been working in like an entry-level position at the grocery store. And as soon as I went back, I was able to get a promotion to floral manager because the person who had been the floral manager before me had left. And I was easily the most qualified person in the store to work the position. So once I got back from EDC, like the same week, she was gone, she had left, and they needed me to basically put everything back together and figure out where stuff goes and handle the product. So I started doing that, and then I actually filled the position. I got hired as the new floral manager at that store. And then now, since then, I'm 30. It's just over or barely 2 years that I've been doing that. And in that time, I've now worked at 3 different stores in 2 cities as a floral manager. And so now I'm at my 4th store with the company in general. And, some people would say big whoop working at the grocery store, but it has actually, I've learned a ton. It has taken me a lot of places. And at the time when I was working with my business coach, which I talked about in the previous video, at the end of that, I was really wanting to search for and work a creative job or some type of art or music related job instead of working at a bar. And being a floral manager has been the perfect exact job that I needed right when I needed it. And it has opened a lot of doors for me, and it may yet open more. So that was, it's been my favorite job I've found in my entire life so far. I've worked a lot of different jobs, and I'm really thankful that things played out the way that they did back then, because that's what I do right now. And I got the opportunity to work in Chandler for 6 months, and now I'm back in Tucson working at a bigger store, earning more hours, working with more product, selling more product. And to me, this is all about learning how to sell art at a high volume, and be able to adjust things like ordering and production based off of the individual store, the time of year. And I've learned a lot by being at 3 different stores, where conversely there are a lot of floral managers who stay in the position for a really long time, and there's absolutely things that they would learn from working at their store for a long time that I haven't gotten because I've worked at 3 stores. But this has been a really special experience and a really awesome job that fits my personality and my needs and me as a creative. So I'm really thankful for that. And so leading into the end of this video, or the things that I have to say and talk about, are that at the very end of my junior year, the rest of my 20s, my 28th year, I did like a little birthday celebration by myself. And one thing that happened right around my 29th birthday is that I got readmitted to NAU for, I think a year later, or just over a year. It was, I've been in school now. Again, I'm back because I got readmitted at the end of that year. And it took me 2 years to plan and wait for being able to actually start the 2 years that now I'm a year into, that it would take me to finish my degree. So right now I have a year left. So that is the story of the 28th year of my life, my junior year of the rest of my 20s. I am now 30, and there is at least one part left in this series, which I look forward to sharing. So thank you for watching. You can subscribe to my channel, please, and you can find me on any social media at Saysan. So thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you later and hopefully having you hear the final part in the series, or maybe the final part. Maybe there will be more. We'll find out. Thank you. Have a great day.